just sent it. I just sent it to him.
Okay, you ready? We can continue? Okay. Now, since we'll continue with the audit later, okay, SHAARC presentation. That's Ms.
I do my presentation before I speak.
Oh, yeah, we doing the presentation
Okay.
before the public presentation.
Okay.
I apologize for being late. See Mrs. Runyon upstairs. We had to call the MS.
Okay, the presentation that I presented last month, as well as at the ad hoc meeting. Want to say good evening, first of all. Good evening, y'all.
Good evening.
Okay. So these are was questions about what we have done in the past since our tenure, and I'm presenting here. You all should have already the guidelines from HUD, what HUD states about all that. I brought all that information in, and I saw it was in the board packet. In 2010, Sarasota Housing Authority Agency-wide Resident Council was established. We shared a 3-bedroom apartment with resident services in the courts. The courts was going through some modifications, and we moved to Jane Poe Development. We incorporated a council in 2013 also as a nonprofit. So even when we went to Jane Poe, we still, it was an elder council over here already at the towers. In 2013, SHAARC partnered with the Unitarian Universalists of Sarasota, Social Justice. So we partnered with them to assist residents with $15 a month toward their light bills for every meeting they attended. At that time, we talked with them and got them to partner with us to try to get residents to come to more meetings to find out about their housing. During that time, we also was relocating, and they were instrumental in helping us to relocate residents to find places to stay. Assist residents with $15 a month toward their light bills for every meeting they attended. The council implemented the yard fines in the courts. The $25 yard fines that we instigated that. The council did, and the council was to get $15, I think, and the housing authority was getting $10. That happened for a little while, and then it stopped. Even though they still collected the $25. Yard fines in the courts, Orange Avenue and Jane Poe. The fines was $25, and of course I just said 15 was for the council, 10 was for the housing authority. And I said I believe this was for 6 months. It could have been longer, I don't know. The resident council office moved to the towers because of renovation of Jane Poe complex. While having an office at McCown Towers, we acquired a Ross grant twice. We won the grant for seniors to age in place. Now, under these grants, we were able to hire a service coordinator, have a medical doctor to come bi-weekly with appointments set by the coordinator, podiatrist every 3 months, mobile eye clinic. We transported some to specialists, mobile skin cancer unit, a nurse that came every week. The council initiated the camp. Okay, at this the medical service that y'all have heard that we didn't want to be bothered with, we actually brought them in. And we had a nurse that came every week. to do blood pressure, sometimes twice a week. Sometimes those that couldn't come down, they went up to their apartment. And we saw that the appointments were made for the doctors because many of them, would get confused and so forth. But we actually saw that we got the appointments done and we made sure that they came down for them. Let's see. This skin cancer unit, I think, came once a month. So the programs we implemented the I'm Okay, and the Housing Authority paid stipends to the residents. We had a person on every floor to do the I'm Okay, wherein they were able to go to their neighbor doors to make sure that they were okay and they wasn't laying down dying in there, and they would be there 2 or 3 days before anybody knew that they were there, because we've had people to die and sometimes people didn't find out right away. So we implemented that. We had community breakfast every 3 months, wherein we provided some foods we partnered with the Housing Authority, and they provided, and even they helped prepare it, because we will have a community breakfast where the residents could come down, sit down, talk, eat, and just get them out of the apartment so that they can mingle with one another. We did barbecues on the 4th of July. We had a game day. Every week we had a game day. Different games were played each week. So we had our own them things where you have remote controls and you move the stick and everything, and you see it on the TV. But anyway, it was a lot of games. We also had an exercise room, and it's back there, the Session A office. We turned that into an exercise room, and for safety reasons, we had mirrors, we had bars put in there so that, for the safety of the residents. We were donated a high-end equipment, but that was stolen from under the Housing Authority watch, right from out of our exercise room. Mr. Russell said that he was going to look into getting us more, but we didn't get it yet, and now it's just used for y'all's storage. Community garden. We had a community garden that was destroyed by the developers right next door because they developed right up to the property line, and concrete and everything destroyed our community garden. So therefore they put concrete there to put garbage cans or whatever they put on there now. But anyway, those people next door, they supposedly have given the Housing Authority $5,000 for us to redo our garden, but that never have taken place yet. In February, we started the art classes. We bought different things for the art classes, and we had exhibitions, which y'all know we had them, but y'all never came to them. But we had art exhibitions. We had one at Betty Jones Library. Johnson, I'm sorry, thank you. We had one at Betty Johnson's library. Actually, we had two there, and because they were very well received. We have a couple of restaurants that kept our residents' art because they thought that they were doing very good. But we started that class just for them to relax, and we acquired an art student, a graduate from the art school. A student came, and every every month she was here, and I think they still have it on. I have no idea what's happening with it now, but we did, do that and motivate it really well. In February, we had a dance. We had a Mother Day event, cake and ice cream, which Mr. Russell often, if we asked him, he would purchase the cake and ice cream for mothers. And when Chief DePina was here, she came and brought roses for all the mothers that was here. And Mr. Russell came and told them Happy Mother's Day one year and wear cake. And we also brought in manicures for the ladies. Thanksgiving dinner we have, Christmas dinner we have. We had group walks, visit those that was in the hospital and rehab. When our residents get sick, we go visit them. We will purchase whatever if we could, if they needed something. We did that because we didn't want them to feel that they had no one. And so even when they go to rehab, even to this day right now, I visit at least a couple of them in rehab because they can no longer live by themselves, but I still go and visit and sometimes prepare a meal and take to them. So we will communicate with the property manager on how the residents were doing, which we did that with Miss Victoria. We would let her know how the residents are doing, because sometimes residents get to the point where they can't come back right away. But those are things that we did. We brought a concert at the Towers. We had at least 3 concerts right here. In the breezeway, because we have residents that can't come down or for whatever reason. But we would do it out front, right between these apartments, and we would have residents here, those that couldn't come down. When they would come down, they could hear the music, and for the most part, they were pleased about that. We had 3 of those. Residents had a community yard sale once a year. So those are the things that we have done constantly. The cameras that are on the property, we instigated that because we were going to take our few dollars, because it wasn't nearly enough, but we were going to try to put cameras on the property so we could see what was going on. But Mr. Russell said that they could help with that, and he did that. So, they come and they use them at will, because they tell us that they ain't working, then they do work. So it's at will when they want to put somebody in jail. But those are things that we have done as our tenure here. We have fought for the rights of our residents to make sure that they get to do things. We have gotten tickets to the ballet and taken them to the ballet. We were doing that up until the van broke down, and then we were no longer able to to take them. So I'll start right there, because I did probably a much better job the last time, but trying to do this for 3 times is just tiresome.
We'd like to thank you for we'd like to thank you for your presentation, and all the the good things that you've done with the residents here, and we hope to continue.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is this like a regular discussion thing, or do we?
No, that's just a presentation.
Well,
but
I mean,
Is this one we can comment on because it's a different type?
the MOU and the budget is on the agenda
Yeah.
for the resident council, so.
Okay,
okay.
so we can ask questions then?
Yeah,
or-
yeah,
To Valerie?
yes.
Yeah, thank you very much for what you did.
Okay.
I appreciate it.
Okay, now we get to go back to the annual audit.
Yes.
Thank you, Ms. Val.
Okay, you're welcome.
Well, great. Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for having me. I appreciate the opportunity to present the audit report. It actually is a very, very good audit report, so I'm glad to present it. If I can, what I'll do is I'll share my screen so you can follow along on the screen, or if you have a hard copy of the report in front of you, that's fine as well. So I guess everybody has it in front of them? They already pop up on the screen?
Yeah, we're not gonna be able to see that, Rich.
Oh, no? Okay. I do have it on about 200%. But okay. Well, I'll talk through it, which is fine. So there
I
are
mean, you
three
can
reports.
maybe tell us what page you're on when you're referencing
Yep.
stuff.
Yes. Okay. So there's three reports in the package, and I'm going to start on page 1, which is our report of independent auditors. Okay. And this is where we give an opinion on the authority's financial statements. The other reports have to do with compliance and internal control. This report has to do with just our opinion on your financial statements. And the good news is, on page 1 of that second paragraph under opinions, we give what's called an unmodified opinion on the authority's financial statements. That's the highest level of assurance that we can give as auditors, and it is a very, very good outcome. Now, because the authority has other entities that get included in this audit, we don't re-audit those entities. They have separate other auditors. So in our report, we have to say, in that second paragraph, in our opinion, based on our audit and the reports of other auditors, the financial statements referred to above present fairly in all material respects. And that is, as I mentioned, the highest level of assurance that we can give as auditors. And I think the next report we'll jump to is on page 44. And that's our audit in accordance with government auditing standards. And the reason we have to do these next two audits is because of your level of federal awards. The authority incurs federal grant expenditures in excess of almost $33 million. So federal law requires an audit in accordance with government auditing standards and the uniform guidance. So this is federal law, and so that's why we have to do these other two audits. And with that, the government auditing standards report is on page 44. There's two parts to this audit. The first part is where we document and test your internal control over financial reporting. And that's that first paragraph there. It's entitled in bold. And anytime I talk about internal control, I'm really talking about what are the processes that the authority has in place to safeguard authority assets. So we as your auditors document and we test your cash receipt process, your cash disbursement process, your payroll. We're testing to make sure that employees with approved salaries are actually getting paid those approved salaries. We're testing your procurement to make sure that authority staff are following the procurement policy of the housing authority. We read the minutes to your meetings because the board is an essential part of internal control over housing authority. The board sets policy. And so if the board hires a certain contractor, passes a resolution to hire a certain contractor at a certain rate to do a specific job, we're going to actually make sure that the staff follows through with that resolution as directed by the board. All part of internal control. And what we're doing is we're looking for weaknesses in that system where management or staff may have overrode a policy and did something that wasn't in your internal control procedures. For instance, if a check went out with only one signature and it was supposed to have two, or the authority staff didn't follow through with a resolution. That's overriding a system of internal control, and that's something we would report to the board. Great news is, in that third paragraph under internal control over financial reporting, that second to last sentence, we say we did not identify any deficiencies in internal control that we consider to be a material weakness. And so that's the highest level of assurance that we can give with that portion of this report. And then also we're looking at the authority's compliance with laws and regulations and so forth, really in a macro sense. We're looking for, if there's non-compliance that would have a significant impact on the authority, we're going to report that to you. For instance, if the authority is not following their charter as a housing authority, housing authorities are empowered to do certain things to provide affordable housing. Did you pay your payroll taxes on time? And are you paying your payroll taxes? So we're looking for material things. So if you didn't dot an I and cross a T and it cost a $32 penalty on payroll taxes, on a payroll tax return, that's not something we would report. But if you didn't file it and got a $10,000 penalty, that is something we report. And so the great news here is we say the results of all that testing we did disclose no instances of non-compliance or other matters that are required to be reported. So the second report, highest level of assurance that we can give as auditors, and a fantastic outcome. Page 46 is our report required by the Uniform Guidance, and the Uniform Guidance is federal law. And here we're required to give an opinion on your major federal programs. So your major federal programs are this year, because we're required to follow the audit program, and it may rotate every couple of years. So it was a housing choice voucher program, as well as you have a coronavirus program. And so that constituted, up to $32 million of federal money. We actually performed compliance testing on almost 30 million of that, which is a huge percentage, and that's just kind of the way that the dice flowed today. So we're given an opinion on all those 4 programs. There's 3 within the voucher program cluster, and then the coronavirus program. And what we say on page 46, that second paragraph, the paragraph under opinion on each major federal program, we give what's called an unmodified opinion on the authority's compliance. Highest level of assurance that we can give. We say, in our opinion, the authority complied in all material specs with the types of compliance requirements referred to above that could have a direct and material effect on each of its major federal programs.
Hey, Rich.
Fantastic. Yes, sir.
I just want to clarify. So when he's referring to coronavirus programs, he's talking about our ARPA grants that we got from the county.
Okay. So yes, so this originated from the United States Department of Treasury. That's why it's considered federal money. It was passed through the county of Sarasota to the Housing Authority, and it was $1.5 million. And so the great news there is we gave an unmodified opinion on that program as well. We tested compliance. Real quick, if we want, we can go to the financial statements. I don't want to take up too much of your time. I'm sure you have a busy agenda. Page 11 starts your financial statements. Page 11 is a statement of net position. And if those of you that are familiar with business, that's your balance sheet. It's a picture in time of your financial position. And it's organized you'll see there's a column format where the primary government is really the housing authority and any entities that the housing authority wholly owns, which right now it's Janie Poe Associates. You just acquired that one back. Excuse me. The second column is your discreetly presented component units. Those are those tax credit entities. We're not going to talk about those today. So when I talk to, I'm losing my voice. I've done about 10 board meetings over the last week, and I think I'm losing my voice. So when I talk to housing authority boards, housing authorities have millions of dollars of equity and assets. And those assets a lot of times are tied up in things that are not very liquid, like capital assets, your fixed assets, notes receivable. So the way you should measure the strength of a housing authority, and the way HUD measures the strength of a housing authority when we submit your financials to REACT, is they look at your liquidity. And they measure liquidity by looking at your current assets, which on page 16 is $20,311,565. That's that first total under the primary government. And most of that money is sitting in cash. An overwhelming majority of that money is sitting in cash. Well over $19 million is sitting in cash. So HUD looks at your current assets, less your current liabilities of $2,135,000, and that's on the next page, page 12. So if you do your current assets minus your current liabilities, it gives you about $18 million of working capital, what I call working capital. And you may say, well, that sounds great. Is that good for a housing authority our size? Well, HUD says if you have between 4 and 6 months worth of operating reserves, doing that calculation, you're doing well. And the authority has about 31 months of operating reserves. And how I do this calculation is I take that 18 million and divide it by your monthly overhead number. And I'll show you that in a minute. And it comes up with your 31 months of operating reserves.
Hey, Rich.
You know that? Yes, sir.
You lost some of us.
Okay.
So what? You were on 11, then you mentioned 16, and then you mentioned 12.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, actually, it's page 12. I'm sorry about that. It's page 12 is the second part of the statement of deposition. You're right. Page 16, I was going to refer to bring you to something else. I put notes on my page. So page 12 is where your current it's the second part of the statement of deposition. And so HUD looks at your current assets, which were 20 million before I mentioned, less the current liabilities here on page 12, which is 2,135,000. So when you take your current assets minus your current liabilities, it comes to about $18,176,000. If everybody could see that there. And that represents about 31 months of your operating expenses. And it's just, that's a incredibly strong number. And that's something that takes years to build up. You don't just build up 19 million in cash overnight. That's good financial management. It's operating within budgets. It's generating surpluses every year. And what I really like about this $18 million of working capital is very few of those dollars. Well, number one, only a couple million are in the public housing program. I think you have about 100 units left as of year end. So you've diversified your housing practice very, very well. Your housing portfolio, I should say. And so you minimized your dependence on the public housing program, and you minimized your dependence on the federal government, really. Yes, you still have a big voucher program, but the voucher program has been relatively protected over the years because Congress is very reluctant to cut the voucher program because it affects private landlords and private citizens. Whereas the public housing program, if you were dependent on that and had thousands of units in the public housing program, you'd be very susceptible to proration of your subsidy. And even years ago, there was recapture. I don't know if they're able to do that again. So this is a very, very strong financial statement, and in a few different ways where these reserves are really relatively protected. So that is a great, great thing. And jump into the next page, page 13, is your statement of revenues and expenses. For all intents and purposes, that's your profit and loss statement. And just real quick, I highlighted some items on this page, but you might not be able to see it. Underneath operating expenses, I want to tell you just what it costs to operate, to turn the keys, turn the lights on of the housing authority for the year. So if you look under operating expenses on the page, and you go from administrative expenses all the way down to general expenses, that totals almost $7 million, about $6,984,000. That's what it costs to operate to run the Sarasota Housing Authority for the year. And if you divide it by 12, it's about $582,000 per month. And if you have $18 million of working capital, like I mentioned before, and it costs you about $582,000 of monthly overhead or monthly operating expenses, that's how you get about 30 months worth of reserves on hand, which is a really strong number. But I always find it interesting to let people know. A lot of people, oh, I'm running a small housing authority. Actually, this is a nice size housing authority, $7 million of overhead, $25 million in housing assistance payments alone there. Housing authority had almost $37 million in operating revenue against $34 million in operating expenses, and you're showing operating income of about $2.9 million this year, which is exceptional. And the best part about that, if I may say, on page 14, and this is the last page we'll look at, and that's your statement of cash flows. So you had that, you generated that $2.9 million of operating income. Did that turn into cash? Because a lot of housing authorities take back notes receivable or get grants for capital assets, and it really doesn't turn into cash. The good thing here is, look at this, you generated almost $7 million or $6.9 million from operating activities. That's that first subtotal on the cash flow statement, on your statement of cash flows. And overall, down below, your cash increased over $5 million. If you look that third to the last line in that first group of numbers. So you turn that earnings into cash. And so that is a very positive outcome. I don't want to take up too much of your time or talk. I know I'm talking like an accountant. I hope I didn't put anybody to sleep. But if anybody has any questions, love to take them now. Or you can email me. I work for the board. At the pleasure of the board. So if the board has any questions, any concerns for next year's audit, if we are selected as auditors for next year, if you have any concerns, and I don't mean concerns in a bad way, I mean, a lot of boards will say, hey, we hired a lot of people. Can you make sure they were put on salary, the correct amount of salary? Or we entered into a lot of contracts. In your audit, can you make sure you review those new contracts? You can always increase the scope of our audit. We just can't reduce it. But with that, I'll turn it back to Mr. Russell or any questions.
Okay.
Did you test any?
Madam Chair, I'm sorry.
Hey, did you test tenant files?
Yes, we did.
Did you find
Absolutely.
any systemic problems or errors or anything with those?
No, nothing in the tenant files. We found, so you have a $26 million of HAP revenue just coming into one voucher program. So we tested the voucher program, I think it was emergency housing assistance in the mainstream program, along with the coronavirus didn't have the tenant files. Tenant files were perfect, and we tested probably 10 different compliance issues with that.
Sure.
We had one issue, and I'm almost embarrassed to say that we found one inspection out of 30 that was done a little late. And the reason why we had to say that is even though we might say, hey, 1 out of 30, that's an A. If I had did that in college, I'd be getting an A on my exam. Because we have to project it out over your total population of vouchers, and you have a couple thousand vouchers.
Sure.
So if you do that and it comes to over 25,000, I have to report it. But that was the only issue we found. All the compliance testing we did, and we audited 75 housing authorities across the country. My guys know what they're looking for when they test, and we didn't find any issues with tenant files.
And you didn't look at any of the tax credit files?
So the tax credit files are separately audited. So the only one we would look at would be Janie Poe, which was brought back into the housing authority when the investor left. But all the other tax credit entities, we rely on those auditors.
Okay.
That's the question.
And anyone with any further questions?
So, Rich, I have a question actually.
Sure.
On Janie's Garden Phase 1, Michael's was having BDO do the annual audits for that entity. So are you saying that now you would be doing the annual audit for Janie's Garden Phase 1?
Oh, no, they can still do the audit. We just we don't audit it again. And so we put in our audit report, which is the required language that just says, hey, that portion of the housing authority is audited by somebody else. Now, you may not want an audit on that because a lot of times when the housing authority, the investor leaves, that audit requirement goes away. And so if that audit cost you $10,000, say, I don't know what it cost, now it's all part of the housing authority. We can include that as part of our audit. And it may only be, an extra $1,500 worth of procedures that we have to do because it's part of this audit. But that's totally up to you. A lot of boards say, you know what, I'd rather have it a separate entity. I'd rather have a separate audit done and not and just bring it in.
Well, knowing BDO, it's probably not very cheap, so we'll look at that.
Somebody's got to pay for those commercials.
Okay, someone else?
Yes, I did have a question. Regarding the amount of reserves, you mentioned 33 months of reserves, which I think is great. Is there a certain amount that's a good average to have? Like, is there an excessive amount to have where you want to take some of that and reinvest it, or?
So you have so each program has some reserves, and each program has some restrictions on it, and you got to remember anything you do. So if you have non-federal reserves, you really have to look program by program. So if you have non-federal reserves, you can use those reserves in accordance with whatever your housing authority charters to provide affordable housing in Sarasota. Your public housing reserves, you can only use in the public housing program. The voucher reserves, you can only use in the voucher program reserves. But some of those other programs where you have reserves, you can use for whatever your purpose is as a housing to provide affordable housing. So the number is, what's a good number? So HUD says if you have between 4 and 6 months in the public housing program, in the federal programs, that's a good number. But if you're doing development and you have plans down the road, the board may say, hey, you know what? We're going to invest in some properties in Sarasota. We want to do some market rate. We want to do some affordable housing, do another tax credit project. Well, you really want to hold on to those reserves because you always have to have liquidity. You can't mortgage your building to pay payroll. You got to have the cash.
Well, and the other thing is, if we wanted to take over one of the tax credit, assets, the investor or the lender will expect us to put up operating guarantees.
Yes.
And that would only be
correct.
based upon non-federal reserves that we have. So.
And liquid reserves,
Yeah,
correct.
yeah.
That's right. Yeah, so it is really dependent on what your plans are, and that's right. And if you're going to do that type of reinvestment, taking back those properties and maybe re-syndicating them in the future, you want to be liquid, and cash really is king for future investors. Having that liquidity and the ability to guarantee, you're going to always be able to borrow at the cheapest rate and get equity at the cheapest rate.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Well, thank you. We'd like to thank you, Rich, for your presentation, and we thank you for the job you've done, the great job you've done.
Thank you so much, and really want to thank the staff because these results are not indicative of what we see across the country with housing authorities. We have findings, we have qualified opinions, we have a lot of issues because housing authorities are having such a hard time to attract qualified staff and qualified professionals, and you guys have really done a great job hiring and keeping people. And I think the results are indicative of your staff's competence.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you very, very much. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, special presentations. The next one is City Commission liaison update. We'll welcome City Commissioner Jean Ahern Cox.
Thank you.
Jen, excuse me,
Jen Ahern.
I apologize.
I can just come up really quickly and just say that I consulted with the deputy city manager. As you all know, our city manager, Marlon Brown, you may or may not know, has resigned, and we have a deputy city manager and a new city manager.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Let me finish I thought he was retired.
Retiring. Well,
He had to give them a letter of resignation.
yeah, he gave a letter of resignation.
Oh, okay. Hey, that's
What
why
he's
I'm
doing with the
asking.
rest of his life, I'm not really sure. That's up to him. Yeah.
So when is that effective?
It's day before yesterday.
Day before yesterday?
Or yesterday? What day is today?
23rd.
Okay, so it was Monday was his last day.
Wow. That was rather sudden.
And Doug Jeffco.
But
He announced it about 2 or 3 months ago.
Well, he announced that he was going to retire, but I thought he was going to stay until we found somebody else.
No. He had announced that he was going to resign on the 15th, and then he extended it a week to the 21st, 6 days, until the 21st, till the end of the meeting on the 21st.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Sorry.
And so we, the City Commission appointed Doug Jeffcoat, who's the Public Works Director, as the interim city manager for 6 months-ish until we do a national search for a city manager. So it should take 6 to 8 months, I guess, is what we're predicting. We haven't been through this, or none of the city commissioners have been through a national search before, so this is all pretty new to us.
How much is that going to cost us?
I don't know yet. No idea.
$500,000.
I don't think that much, but maybe.
3 to 5. That's
Okay.
the estimate.
$1 million?
300 to 500.
Oh, 305,000. Okay. Anyway, so I did consult with the deputy city manager, and I found out today that I was going to be on the agenda, so gave me plenty of time to prepare. And other than the mayor's appointment of the new board member, the city has not taken any action that impacts the housing authority. And I wanted to know if you had any questions from your residents about storm debris pickup, how that's happening, when that's happening, if that impacts you all. You'll feel free to ask me some questions, and I can help as much as I can. And if I can't, I will get back to you.
I don't have a question, but a comment. The city's been very forthcoming with information in that regard. I know I signed up for emails and whatever, and so I pass the information on to
Thank you.
my neighbors when I get it, but they've really been very helpful with the information.
Well, thank you. And folks can always go to the website, and if they don't see what they need there, just make sure you reach out to your commissioners or to the city manager, staff. We're always willing to help, so no problem.
And city attorney.
City attorney. So our city attorney has also resigned
Well, we
and
talking
will
like flies
retire.
here.
And will retire, as will the deputy city attorney, Mike Connolly. And we appointed on Monday as well Joe Polzak, who will be our new city attorney, and John Shamsey and Joe Maladnik as the 2 deputy city attorneys. They work currently and have worked currently for Fournier and Connolly. Joe Polzak's been with them for a while. John Shamsey's been there for 17 years. Joe Polzak's been there at least 10 years, if not more than that. So between them all, they have a number of years with our current attorney and deputy attorney, and so they'll sort of be taking over, and we'll have the current city attorney and deputy city attorney on speed dial in case they have any questions or need some institutional knowledge that goes back more than their tenure with the city attorney. So that takes place March 1st, the official transition, whereas the city manager took place officially yesterday.
So that none of those jobs were bid out or anything? We didn't check with any other firms that were interested?
The city manager, we will do a national search.
No, I understand that.
The city
I did
attorney, we chose not to do that. That was the commission decision. We chose to go with the three who are with the current firm, and they will be hiring 2 new folks. We felt the commission discussion around this focused mainly on institutional knowledge and the value in institutional knowledge, and felt that that was of great benefit to the citizens in the community.
Well, I only know 2 of the 3 that I'm aware of, and they're both excellent.
Yes, they all 3 came highly, highly, highly recommended. And we as a commission, while we do have a city attorney and a deputy city attorney, some of their the partners sit on advisory boards. So I believe Joe Mladnick sat on our tree advisory committee, which was an ad hoc committee. We have one of them that sits on the planning board. John Shamsey, I think, sits on the planning board. So they all participate in the city and the city's business and have for a very long time. And so that's a really valuable piece of this. And they have also developed a relationship not only with the current city commissioners, but with the city staff and our advisory boards. So to understand the mechanisms of the way things work in the cities was of great value to us. Not that there aren't other firms, but we felt very strongly as a commission that these 3 and hiring and their current staff, so the paralegals and the folks that work with them are also very adept at what they're doing and knowledgeable and proficient, that there would be 0 learning curve. With the change, and we have 3 charter officials, only 3 that we hired: the city auditor and clerk, the city manager, and the attorney. And so with 2 of the 3 transitioning, we felt pretty strongly that it was important to have just a very quick, easy transition, institutional knowledge, take over. They'll hire 2 new folks that will come in and specify in other areas that we have feel that we need more expertise, and our staff can lean on for expertise, such as in negotiating leases and things like that, some sort of real estate expertise as well. And so they will focus on that direction when they hire 2 new folks.
So that means that was staff of 5.
An attorney staff of 5. They have a couple of paralegals and other people who work in the office, but at least an attorney staff of 5.
Now, the only reason I ask is because sometimes you want to bring in some other new blood to be able to groom into those positions for the future. It's not necessarily the best thing in the world to stay with just the same people over and over again.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. The
diversification.
The city attorney, Joe Polzak, is, I believe, I don't want to out him, but he's, I think he's, I think 50, 40 is young, so he's 50, 40-ish, 40s, somewhere in there.
So he'll be around for a while.
And the other 2 as well are young. They're also in their 30s and 40s as well. So this is what they've known, and they're relatively young, so they too will be around for a while.
Okay.
So, not to put you on the spot,
Sure.
but the big attainable housing development that was proposed by the city manager right across the street from City Hall. I mean, that seemed to be kind of his baby. What do you foresee happening with that?
I don't know. The city has purchased the property. We know that. And I know the city did pay for it. A sum that was more than fair.
Yes.
Let's say that.
Yes.
And what becomes of that, I don't know. We are having an election. We have 3 incumbents. We have not spoken this, so if nothing changes and we are all the same commission that we are now, this same commission is still on that path to continue down that road. So I don't know. Think that this commission voted unanimously to support going down this road, but there are a lot of question marks, and we know that going into this. What the financial picture looks like, what's the role of the city? Is this the role of the city? What market will it fill? What need will it fill? And is that something that is in the best interest of the community or not? The good thing about the contracts were that the city could, if the city decides not to pursue this, the city can sell that property as well.
Or the city could enter into a long-term ground lease with us and our developer partner, and we could develop it for you.
Yep. So those are future conversations that we can have, and I can relay that to the commission. So, absolutely.
Just a thought.
It's a good thought.
Just throw it out there, William. Just type something really good.
It's out there now.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other questions or concerns? Okay, thank you so much.
Feel
We
free to
appreciate
reach out
you.
to me anytime with questions.
Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Thank
It's
you.
always appreciated.
Obviously via William, so that you don't have any sunshine issues.
Thank you
We
so
don't want
much. We
that to
appreciate
No,
you.
no, wait a minute. We can talk to you. We don't have to talk through him.
No, but individually,
Oh,
please.
yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I misunderstood.
No, individually, please.
Okay, so thank you very much.
Thank
Now we
you.
move on for a public presentation. We have 3. Before we start, I just want to let you know that comments are limited to 3 minutes. And also, appropriate matters brought before the board at public presentation shall be addressed in writing to the speaker and in the next regular board meeting packet. Okay? So the first person is Joan O'Haver.
Yes,
It's Joan O'Haver. Thank you.
Yes, first, can I ask Miss Valerie, in her letter, is she petitioning to have these programs reinstated? All the programs that you listed off, are you petitioning to have them
Oh, no, we're
reinstated?
trying to get a budget,
Trying to get a grant,
a budget.
budget,
Not no-
Okay.
okay. Well, all my issues would be issues I had brought up before about cigarette butt dispensers around the property. That never occurred. Garbage cans with lids so the garbage can't blow out around the property. That didn't occur. Seating in the new gazebo so we can use it. We did get a new cleaning service, and they seem to be really nice and really professional. I think they're doing a good job. I guess that's about it. Just the things that we brought before, I just wonder how come, what is ever done about issues we bring up? What do y'all do with those?
We address them, as I said before, we address them, the CEO addresses them, and then he prepares answers to you, and then the answers are also in our next board package, so we're aware of what's happening,
Oh, okay.
okay?
Thank you.
So, do you have any recommendations on,
Where you would like to put the cigarette dispensers or the garbage cans. You don't have to address us now, but you can work with staff on that so
Okay.
that they have an idea of where they would be useful. We don't want to just put it somewhere and then everybody says, well, nobody goes to
Well,
smoke
sitting
over there.
areas, sitting areas.
okay,
Okay.
okay.
Yeah, and also, I guess, as the chairman said, you should be getting documentation anytime that you come forward to us, that you should be getting documentation back stating how or if or not the issue's been resolved.
Okay.
So,
Thank you.
if that's not taking place, I guess that's another.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner, and thank you.
Yeah, thank
Okay,
you.
next person is Valerie Bouchard. And then after that, it'll be Mr. James Henry.
First, I want to say that you all stated that it was no more Zoom meeting, and I think it is discriminatory when y'all have staff and y'all have Zoom meetings for them, because we have residents that could have been at this meeting if they had the link, along with our advocate. So I want to say that I don't think it's fair. If you're gonna let y'all folk, your staff be on there, then we should be able to have our residents on there. I want to address a shooting. It was a shooting at 1845 23rd Street. Some young people shot in that lady's house. I don't know everything yet, but the lady expressed to the housing authority that she was afraid, and your property manager told her, because she wanted to move because she was afraid. And they told her that they wasn't going to move her because they just going to follow wherever she go. And so I think that's terrible. The police did put a truck there. They took the battery out, but they put an empty truck there, and it was two Mexican children. I don't know where they are. I haven't had time to look into it because we got trying to prepare for our festival this weekend. But I think it's awful how the authority workers address residents, because the attitude that she spoke to the young lady in, it's not acceptable. So anyway, I wanted to make sure y'all know about that. And I hope don't nobody have to die because your staff decide they don't need to be moved.
Madam Chair, I did speak with Mr. Waters when I got word of that shooting, and he said he had been in contact with the resident because she does indeed want to move. There just are no available places for her. And I asked if he communicated that to her, and he said he did, because there are several more residents in that particular development that have asked to be moved as well.
Okay, well, thank you.
And he said they would as soon as something becomes available. But I agree, if there's staff that's saying that to residents.
It's
that
not
needs
what
to
they
be
saying,
looked
it's how
into.
they saying. Talking to them like they dogs.
Okay, well, thank you for bringing that to our attention, and we work on it and get an answer back to you. I'm sorry to hear about that whole
Okay.
incident.
Are we
Okay.
allowed to comment on?
No, we're
Okay,
not.
thank you.
Okay,
Otherwise, you'd be here all night.
okay. Okay, well, thank you. Now we're gonna go into resolutions. Okay, now, we have resolutions.
We have one more.
One more.
Oh, yeah, oh, I'm sorry about Mr. Hendricks. Thank you, Mr. Hendricks. I apologize.
That's okay.
Okay, you got a second.
Don't listen
You
up.
got 1 minute.
I need a place to live. I've waited for a long time.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Hendricks.
Okay, Mr. James Hendricks, thank you.
I'm still looking for a place to live. I'm not at home yet, but I got my faith. I filled out for the assistant program, and it's in my email, but I don't really know how to check the results. And I need some leading, some guidance, and show me how to do this. And even Mr. Russ
Are
will
you
help
talking
me.
about Cypress?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm gonna fill out the application button. That's since I had my job. Well, I'm on Social Security. I've been on for a while, but I don't have enough money right now, so I have to fall back on for rental assistance, and that's where I'm going right now. And then I can fill out the application for over there and stuff.
So, I'm confused. Did you apply for a unit at Cypress? I thought you did.
I filled out some papers, for them to call me, but I haven't received a call yet.
Okay, I'll follow up on
Okay. That's 2 minutes.
No, you can go.
One more minute?
You got another minute.
I have a great day. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Mrs. Hendricks. Okay. I'd like to thank everyone for their presentations. And now as we move on to resolutions, we have several resolutions. Resolution 2416, approval of culture guide revisions. Do we have any, we need to pull that? Any concerns?
Yeah.
You want to pull that? Okay, we're going to pull that. Let's see.
it. Wait, which one?
Pull.
Who?
2416.
I need to know who pulled something.
Who's
I did.
Commissioner Meredith? Okay, and then how about Resolution 2421, approval of Sarasota Housing Authority agency-wide resident council MOU and budget? We're going to pull that also?
Yeah, I think we have to.
Who's pulling that?
I'll pull.
Okay, you pull it. Okay, then Resolution 2423, revision of bylaws. Would everyone like to pull? Make a motion to pull?
I haven't seen the revision, so I can't say anything.
Okay.
Did you not read the packet?
And Madam Chair, just for clarity,
Yes,
you
please.
don't have to make a motion to pull it,
Don't
as
know,
you know.
just, okay. Thank you.
Very straight.
Okay, approval, resident approval of 2424, approval of BPBV assistance APP 3. Any questions? Okay. How about resolution 2425, utility allowance? Excuse me. That's okay? Okay, resolution 2426, HCV payment standards? Okay, so do we want to move to approve resolution 2423, resolution 2424, 2425, and 2426?
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
Second? Okay. All ayes? Ayes.
Thank
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All,
Any opposed?
you.
any opposed? Okay.
So, as Attorney Gilmore will tell you, you have to vote on every item.
Okay.
So, yes or no.
Unless you have a conflict, which I will discuss with you later.
Or opposed?
Okay, thank you very much. Now, we'd like to move to the ones we pulled. Resolution 2416, it's open for discussion.
Yeah, so as outlined in our last meeting, I was under the understanding, our last notation on this subject indicated that this was going to be, let's see, Commissioner Morgan agreed to chair the committee, that there was a motion that we were going to bring this to the ad hoc committee for further review, and from my understanding, that hasn't taken place. Because there were some comments at our last board meeting pertaining to it.
Right,
And the
but-
ad hoc committee was going to review that. And from what you said earlier, that meeting wasn't held.
Right, so my understanding, based on comments at the last board meeting, was that there was some concerns about the remote work policy that had been put in there. And so we decided to just remove that altogether. So, I mean, there are a few other minor tweaks that we want to make to it, but I didn't think that that's why y'all wanted to have a committee meeting on it. I thought it was to discuss the remote work issue.
So, I think it should still go to the ad hoc committee. I really don't feel comfortable yet voting without it may be a 5-minute meeting with the ad hoc committee, but I still think that step needs to be taken for me to feel comfortable enough to vote on
I'll go along with Commissioner Mason.
Okay.
it. So can we do this at the next meeting, and that will give the committee time to meet and flesh it out.
If I may, Commissioner, you could suggest that Resolution 24-16 be tabled until after the ad hoc committee has met.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
I move that we table Resolution 24-16 until after the ad hoc committee has met.
I'll second it.
Second, okay. All in favor?
Is this still up for discussion or no? We have to vote now.
No.
No, you can have discussion.
You can have discussion.
Okay, so I was just wondering, William, because you said basically you took that caveat out, that raised some concerns. Maybe if we discuss now the items that you changed, because they might be minor in nature, maybe we could just move forward if they're only minor modifications.
I would love to
do you
do that.
mind
Okay.
reviewing what those
Yes.
small
Okay.
modifications were, and then we can determine from there if we want.
Correct.
Well, if you'd love to do it, I'm voting against it.
What?
Well, let's see what.
And I'm kidding.
Well, let's see what William has to say.
Okay.
They could be very much. What if we just said we added a comma here? And,
So, the first thing we wanted to change was that when people are letting their supervisor know that they're not coming in for work that day, we're asking them to notify their supervisor an hour before the start of the workday instead of like 5 minutes before.
Okay.
So that's one change. We added a sentence that said no denim blue jeans are permitted.
I don't get that. What do you mean? You talking about for office staff?
Yes.
Or? Okay.
For any staff. Anyone who's on duty cannot be in jeans.
What about the workmen?
They have pants
Oh, okay.
and shorts.
Okay. What's wrong with denim?
he's trying to.
'Cause I don't think it looks
some
professional.
Professionalism.
Okay.
Take offense to that.
Hey, man,
I
you just
resemble
took
that,
your-
Roy.
You just took your pants away.
That sounds, you took your pants away.
And then we're talking about providing 8 uniform shirts every year, and that right now there's an allowance for them to buy their own work boots, and we're saying we want to provide an allowance for them to also buy their own pants and or shorts. And that's an annual allowance for that. And then the only other change is we're suggesting, so right now no one can carry over more than 250 hours of PTO or they lose it. Yeah.
Okay.
So there's a proposed change that for non-exempt employees or people who have been here 10 years or more, because those are the people who are earning more PTO, that at the end of every year, the housing authority would be willing to, I'm trying to find the language, sorry. One week of PTO in excess of the 250 hours can be paid out.
So 1 week a year could be paid out.
Yeah.
Rather than.
Right. So if they're at
So it
like
doesn't keep
290,
accumulating. Right.
we would be willing to pay out 40 of those to get them back under the cap. So,
Are we having an issue with people not using their PTO?
there are a couple of people who don't like to take time off, and while I admire that, I also think it's really important to do that. So,
Yeah.
um,
Well, that's part of the use it or lose it, right? Is
exactly.
one of them. Unplug from here.
All right. But for some of the people in leadership, you know, they feel more challenging to take off a lot of time.
Sure.
And they're also earning more time than, you know, than the hourly staff or people who haven't worked in years yet.
Do you know roughly offhand the maximum amount right now that you're offering? Say, is there somebody now that gets like 5 weeks or so? What's the maximum amount roughly for?
If you have 10 plus years of service, you're earning $220 a year.
220. Okay, I'm trying to.
221.
Hours.
Oh.
So it's a
Oh,
little,
220
a little under
hours.
4,
Oh, you're
a
saying
little
hours.
under 4 weeks.
Yeah.
It's almost.
So, and those are all the changes we're proposing.
Oh, okay.
I would,
Well, to me,
the only caveat you have some caveat in there where they can't come to work sick, because I find on a lot of jobs where they have this PTO, they don't want to take it because they want to store it up and utilize it later or get the money at the end of the month, at the end of the year. And I don't, the purpose is so that people don't come to work sick and get other people sick.
Yeah.
And people will come to an office or an environment, and especially with this COVID thing still prevalent, they'll be in there coughing around because they don't want to take their time.
We generally don't have a problem with that, and we do still have people who truly get sick and call out sick.
Do we distinguish between for PTO sick time versus time off?
No.
No.
Just one.
Just one thing.
We combined
Have you ever
it.
thought about that?
We combined it about 5 years ago. something like that.
Has that been beneficial combining?
Yeah, because now people don't have to call in and lie.
Yeah.
I know, but to your point, so you wouldn't have all this rollover.
I know.
That's a lot of hours.
Well, if you
Okay.
want to.
Well, I mean, my opinion is that we could move forward with the resolution based off of that, unless if somebody had some issues with this PTO. But other than that, they seem to be minor changes, which I don't think needs to go to the ad hoc. in my personal opinion.
you mark it up.
Okay. You good?
So I withdraw my motion.
Okay.
I'll withdraw my second.
Okay.
Okay,
So
good.
now we want to make a motion
We'll
to.
make a motion
who wants
to
make-
accept the.
Accept. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Who seconded? Who seconded?
I did.
You second?
Cologne seconded?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay.
Motion passes.
Motion passes. Now we're gonna go to resolution 2421, approval of SHA agency-wide resident council MOU and budget. Questions,
You want to
concerns?
just break down on that?
So, Commissioner Finger, as I told y'all, is in,
France.
yes, he's in France.
Is that where he lives now?
What a
Is he
problem.
on vacation or did he decide to move there?
He's been on vacation all year. First in Vermont, now he's in France.
So I guess he wanted me to share his comments on this subject. So I don't know if you want me to do that now
Yeah.
or later.
Please.
He said, I cannot attend tomorrow's meeting. I think the resident stipend should be no more than $50 a month paid if the member attends meetings and volunteers time towards resident activities. I support adding the annex units to the mix, which they're not currently, and provide the full $25 per unit, which right now we're doing the 15 per the regulation. The only other amount we could provide would be the amount we give the council for training and travel. They could raise more funds from other sources to provide more funds for activities. Please share these suggestions with the board. So, I've done my duty, so.
So he wants to give them $600 now.
$600?
$50 a week, $50 a month.
$50 a month. Right now, it's like 79.
We give him 79 now, and then I wonder if he wants to reduce it.
But provide the council more funds for resident.
And how much would that be
participation.
for, you're saying, if we included the annex, how much additional would that be?
Where was that? Hang on.
For which one?
If we're doing 25 a unit, that would add another $1,800
A month or a
a
year?
year.
So,
Right now, I think
It's 3705.
yeah, 3705 is the budget now at $15 a unit.
Okay.
So let me just do some math here. So right now it's 3,705, and that's what's paying the stipends currently.
247 times 25.
So 247 plus 75 if we're adding the annex.
Okay.
So 322 units times, if we do $15 a unit, their budget would be 4830. And then if we did 247 plus 75 times $25 a unit, would be 8,050.
He's proposing that to be the entire budget.
Right,
including
and
everything.
then,
That'd be the participation funds.
yeah, and then so that would probably bring the funding that we're providing the council to be pretty close to 20 grand a year.
That includes their travel and everything.
Yes. I'm trying to find the,
And what do they get now total?
3705 plus the training funding, which is about 10,000 a year. And then there's some incidental stuff, like computers. We just provided a new computer and printer.
right. So,
No, I'm sorry. We're averaging overtime. We're averaging about 14 to 15 grand per year on top of the 3705.
3705 is per unit or per,
That would be if we just funded them $15 a unit for the public housing and rad units.
okay.
could I have table now, or are we still going? Because that was
Yeah,
Commissioner
I
Finger's
just-
comments.
yeah.
Okay. And I can ask Valerie questions because I didn't have the opportunity during them. So, kind of piggybacking on one of the other individuals mentioned this regarding the program. So, are you anticipating putting together those programs that you outlined before, the nurses program, doing the community breakfasts? I think that's great. I know that it seemed like they stopped the OK program, which I think is, a great opportunity doing your check-in. Do you currently have those in place, or that you planning on moving forward?
Not if y'all don't give me the money.
We'll say if we did give you the money. If we give you, so the budget that we have outlined here, you're comfortable with the current budget, how it's outlined?
I
Currently here.
need more than 20,000 a year for
Well,
what we do.
I'm
But-
looking at the
Hold on, let me answer your question. So, we come and we use that kitchen in there to prepare when we do have breakfast. only if the staff work with us, because we didn't do the separation, y'all did. So we intend to continue to work with our residents to come down, okay? So we intend to do that. Since the bus is working again, we will try to get, we have to call and see how much less we can, discount we can get for tickets. Some are free and some is discounted. So it just all depends.
Okay. Well, yeah, I
on
think.
the money we have.
Okay. Well, a couple things. I was just trying to understand, like the budget that I currently have before us right now, total expense of $45,991. You're comfortable with that budget if we approve it that way? Is that correct? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just asking a question. This is how the budget works.
Go ahead.
I'm just asking a question. I'm just trying to understand everything. That's all. And it's on here. I just wanted to make sure. I understand she kind of put this together. I just wanted to make sure from a comfort level she was happy with that. Now, regarding the professional services and development for $25,000, what does that go towards?
Just what it says, self-explanatory.
Well, I don't find it self-explanatory. I'd like more specific details because professional services and development. I only see. Is there? Okay, I didn't see the little asterisks. Okay, so legal fees, service coordinator, movers, renewal license, membership is in this budget. Okay, so it's my understanding from reading through this too. So how is the actual funds allocated to you? Because reading through this, it seems like it's there's a lot of documentation that goes through this with receipts, but just not getting $45,000 up front. Is that correct?
So that's a good question.
So specifically these professional services, I'm assuming they would have to submit something or some documentation to get those funds, or is it $45,000 you give them and then they go back and prove what they spent?
So right now, pretty much the whole budget, right, that is approved is going to pay out stipends. So we're paying those directly out of our account. So they're not, we're not giving them $10,000 that they're then putting into their bank account and then,
Correct.
Making expenditures out of that. If that were to happen, as we've laid out in the MOU and stuff, and that HUD lays out, we have to, be able to account for all of their expenditures and audit that, once a year. But that we haven't needed to do that because we're expending the money directly on the training and the travel and all that stuff, registrations, and on stipends. But if money is approved, let's say we approved $20,000.
Mm-hmm.
If not all of that is going to pay out stipends, the resident council would have to come back to the board and say, okay, X amount is going to go for stipends, which leaves, so many $1,000. And here's what we're proposing to budget those funds for this coming year. The board would approve that, and then they would have to show receipts saying we spent, X amount on XYZ resident participation activities and that kind of stuff.
Well, I guess I might just be not understanding it correctly. So, because we have an allocation for stipends, the line item, so the stipends are kind of separate. I understand the stipends. But for professional services, say, for example, okay, they need a CPA.
Why?
This is on here. I'm just asking questions hypothetical. They need $5,000 for the CPA. Do they go to you first, or are we giving them? Say if we approve this whole budget of $45,000, do we give them the whole $45,000 and they're just budgeting it based off of that, or do they have to give us some type of proposal that says they're doing $10,000 for accounting, and then we give them $10,000 more?
So, if we approve a budget that has $5,000 for you know, a CPA consultant, let's say, we could give them that $5,000 at the beginning of the year, and then they would have to show us receipts that they paid the CPA the $5,000 over the course of the year.
Okay. And then if you gave them the $5,000 at the beginning of the year and they didn't have receipts for it, what would occur?
If they don't spend the money, then we would reprogram it for something else. If they spend it on something that was not approved in the budget, then
Well, I'm not trying to complicate things, I'm just trying to understand this thing
no.
fully. Is that, to me, it's like, I'm just trying to see what checks and balances are. So if we just approve this whole thing for $45,000, just saying, what, the stipends get paid out, I understand that, how they get paid out. But then, we're not giving them $45,000 up front, they have to come back and request the funds.
So that number should be 54,231. Not 45,000.
Okay, well, it's 45,000 plus the 3,700, is that where you're getting from?
No, I just calculated the expenses, I just counted them up.
So that's inaccurate, is that what you're trying to tell me? So how much is that total?
54,231.
So it's
and 88
$10,000,
cents.
almost over $10,000 more. Okay, so it looks like we can do that.
I need something like that. I'm sorry.
Okay, nonetheless, so there's checks, I'm just trying to, so there's checks and balances along the way as far as the expenditures. All right, just because the reason why I'm just bringing this up is because I'm just questioning a little bit of the $25,000. So, but I understand if there's checks and balances to that, that I'm not as concerned because they'll have to produce receipts that are based off of the $25,000. Okay, let's see if I have any other questions. The rest of it seems. Okay, thank you. Any further comments?
All right. Anyone with any further questions?
Go ahead, Dave.
Dave?
Yeah, I guess it's kind of piggybacking a little bit off of yours, because so just from the three, stipend, professional services, and conferences. So that's like,
that's what we've been spending.
no, but I'm just like, when it's like the huge hunk of the budget, right, for resident services is not going to residents. I mean,
What part of that?
well,
Professional services.
so we're talking about
Oh, right.
stipend, professional services,
Right.
and conferences. So out of the 54,000, 48,000 are just those three line items.
Right.
So what is that, like 85%, we'll say, roughly?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say that it's not, I mean, it isn't directly going through them, but it is going through them in senses because they're getting these services provided. So, you know, basically, you know, without those services, we wouldn't have the resident economy. They need, you know, the stipends help them with performing their duties, and then the conferences help them as far as their.
No, I get that.
So,
I mean, I
still
understand that.
think it's to some degree directed towards, I wouldn't say it's totally like not.
So I guess my question, Valerie, on the professional services, like, what do you anticipate the CPA and the legal and the consultants, like?
For residents, it's all what residents need. It's what we've done before, and
So you'd hire a
we
CPA.
advocate for residents.
So you'd have a CPA, would it be
The
to help with the resident council, or are they there to help file taxes for residents or something?
No, it is there to, the CPA is to keep our books balanced. Because when y'all have when y'all get ready to audit, we just have, like before we had payroll, you know, paychecks. You know, they did all our stuff for us. We paid them. You know, they saw that people got paid and everything. They did our end of the year reporting to IRS, and to HUD and all that stuff. So we paid them because we wanted to make sure that our stuff was in line and
So in other words, so the CPA would be for the resident council.
yes.
So, I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
You need a CPA. We
Well,
already
you
do
would-
an
you
audit,
would-
we provide you with a copy of the audit of the housing authority. So why do you need a CPA? You could have an accountant do that, or you can use QuickBooks to do it. You don't have a staff, right?
No, we don't have no
So if
staff.
you don't have a
'cause
staff, you don't need anybody to issue checks or anything.
We don't have one yet.
Oh, you're gonna raise funds through your 501c3 to
Well,
hire
I
staff?
mean, we could have been raising funds if the housing authority would have helped us.
That's not our job.
See, you missing the whole point because we could have gotten a grant through HUD if the housing authority, if the housing authority would have went in with us and we could have got a grant together. Okay, but the housing authority didn't want to do that. You understand? So we can raise money from the government. Don't look like that, because I've tried, okay, so I know.
All I'm saying
You
is,
know, we tried, and then, no, I didn't go to the community foundation or nothing like that. But we tried through HUD because y'all serve residents and y'all get money from HUD. So they have opportunity for grants. But councils and housing authorities sometimes apply for them together or get the support of the housing authority so councils can get the grant. Okay?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
when you finish, will you finish, Ms. Bouchard?
I have,
she's on her phone.
Commissioner Rowland, this is probably more for your edification than anybody else's. A few years ago, the Housing Authority adopted a 2-hour rule. We are now 7 minutes away from 2 hours. The meeting can continue if the commissioner makes a motion to extend the meeting by a certain length of time. That gets a second and a vote.
Okay.
So I'm only informing you that you have 6 minutes.
Thank you, Attorney Gilmore.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Commissioner,
I move we extend the meeting by half an hour.
15 minutes long.
okay.
Well, if we get it done in less,
Yeah,
then
I don't want to be here till 7 o'clock.
stop talking.
Okay, so motion is.
we
I
really
have-
realize
Anyone
that
second?
we need to get this
Motion
done.
on the floor.
Motion on the floor. Do we have a second? Do we have a
To
second?
extend it how long?
30 minutes.
Yes.
Do we
I
have
second the
You
motion.
second. Commissioner Merrick, second. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
I'm not sure what that vote reporting was.
It was the,
Malone and Morgan are opposed.
Someone is opposed.
What was
I, I'm okay to proceed. I apologize. I didn't.
Oh,
I
that's
didn't.
okay. That's okay. Thank you.
So the majority.
So majority. Okay. Majority rule. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So, okay. You want to continue with the question?
What is the, it says office supply is $450, but then the total's 13. So what's that? I'm not clear on that.
which one?
It says office supplies $450. Oh, is that? Let me see. Maybe a percent. Oh, that's a percentage of breakdown.
While he's doing that, can
Where
I
are
ask
you?
another question?
Oh, office supplies for, it says $450. And then it says the total is 1,300.
1,300.
It says 450.
I don't know where he
I
is.
just was wondering.
Yeah, I see it.
Under office supplies, it says $450.
Are you on this page? I'm trying to find where you
I'm
are.
on the resident council annual budget. Yes. Yeah.
Here?
Yes, sir. In office supplies says $450, then 1,300 total.
Right above professional services.
I don't even see all this. Oh. Yeah, I don't know. This is not my budget, so
Oh.
don't ask me
Oh,
questions.
sorry. Oh, okay. Sorry. So I was just curious. It says office supplies $450, but then it totals $1,300 for the year. I would sure.
I guess that
Is
was,
that a typo or anything, or is that?
I guess it's for the whole year.
Okay, so I'll just concentrate on the 1,300. That's fine.
I have a question. Now, the stipends is for 200, that would be the 200 per person stipend, right?
Because HUD said that we can get up to $200 per person.
Would
a
y'all-
month.
Would you consider taking less money and more money going into
We already
residents?
get this.
Well, I'm saying,
But I mean,
200, what are you getting now, 79?
79.
Okay, so,
dollars.
you know, going
Yeah.
from 79 to 200, which, you know, I know you guys,
Yeah,
that's my concern. The second
Right.
concern I have is the professional services and that, like your consultant Rachel,
Yeah.
for instance.
Yeah.
You know, we just gonna give her check money and then
No.
she writes out, how's that gonna work?
Mm-mm. Well, what we have money in our account.
Mhm.
We have to keep track of what we spend, like anything else. Like as I said before, you know, you pay out, you have receipts, you have invoices. So when it's time to give the housing authority the accountability, we have it all already there, or wherein it would be sent to the housing authority. So, you know, because I guess they will audit every year if they gave us funds. We have to be audited every year.
Question, how much time did she spend consulting? Would you average paying her for a month?
I don't know. I really don't know. I really honestly don't know. And then you do, sometimes you do flat rate, but well, we haven't
What did she
been
charge?
paying.
What did
We
she
haven't
charge?
been paying.
What did she charge, basically? Would she charge by the hour, the day? How would she charge? You don't know? You haven't
anything.
talked?
All I did was
Okay.
did an initial for her to get started and help us, and she's been helping us for years.
So
we
it's-
have not written a contract. You understand, for nothing going forward.
I was curious. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I'm not. Okay.
I was just curious. I know part of the stinky points is this professional service and development piece. Is it possible to put a caveat in there that any professional services, like you could approve since this is quote unquote a budget, you could approve the budget with professional service at 25, but all expenses have to be approved in advance by the board.
So this is my suggestion to get the MOU approved. I know the budget has been the sticking point. And I'm just using this number as an example. But if we added the annex, right, and we did $25 a unit, that would be $8,050, okay? So that could be a budget we provide to the resident council on top of what we generally spend every year, which is about 14 or 15 grand. But we pay that out directly for conference, travel, per diems, and all that stuff. So if the board were to approve the $8,050, we could get all this approved tonight, and then we would ask the resident council to propose an annual budget
Okay.
for how they would spend the $8,050. And that would come back to the board. Okay? And that may look different every year. But under HUD regulations, they have to bring a budget back. This is not their annual budget because they don't know what we're going to give them. This is like a list of stuff they would like to get money for to spend money on.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think it's helpful to understand what they're considering.
No, it is.
So
It is.
But the 14,000 that you're saying is spending currently a year now, that includes the stipends and the travel?
No,
So
it's
stuff
just the travel and miscellaneous office expenses and stuff.
Okay, and
It's basically one conference a year.
okay, and how much we're giving them, how much do we give them last year in stipends?
$3,705, $3,705.
So
And
we
that's
should add
$79
that
a
to the
person.
total then?
Would I what?
We could add that to the,
Well, we
you
are.
said 14, then I know you're talking about the 8,050, but the only problem I have there is that's not even half of what their proposed budget is.
They're looking, I'm sorry,
I mean-
just kind of interjecting, they're looking for those stipends to increase it from 3705 to the 14,400.
Yeah.
And it just to remind you that the HUD regulation calls for us to do $15 a unit for public housing and rad.
Right. For public housing only.
And rad.
And that's a change, though.
But they're working.
Since they started
It's a
that.
change. I remember because I specifically asked that question when we changed over to RAD. That's okay.
Because when I look at some of these other, I don't really have too much of a problem with the other budget line items. They're not, so we're only spending on the conferences, they're budgeting 9,000. That would be, so that's over $1,000 a council member. And how much are we spending now? You said that was,
It's somewhere between 14, 15 grand. On top of the $15 a unit we're providing for the stipends, the 3,705.
Why don't we just make it an even like 25,000? That's what we're trying to come up with, the number they can start with, right? So they can build their budget. You work backwards. Like, this is what we have. Now we can start knowing what your budget's going to be.
because you said that total is really 50?
It's 54,000. Well, on the expense list, it's 54,231.88.
Oh, that's why you were saying that you didn't do the budget.
And that's why I was saying, so like just those three items, on this one over here, 14, 9, and the 25 comes out to like 48,000, which is 88.
Oh, I see.
It's 88% of
Yeah.
their entire budget. But my point is we were also, or to like William's point, like, we were looking at what some of these trends were, right? So 14, 270.99, then 15, 855. We're talking about increasing those units from the $15 to $25, which is what it's currently 3,705. And we're talking about 8,000. So, like, look, like, why don't we just make that an even $10,000 and it's a nice even number, and we're looking at 16,000. So we'll say 26,000, right? So here's 26,000, and then Valerie, you can work with the 26,000. And
And y'all, and the housing authority still send us to our,
but that's what all this included. That's my point is right. It would be, this includes that conference.
Which is included in their budget too.
Yeah, and it's included in yours. So all I'm saying is, it would increase the units increase the cost per unit, and just, you know, so we're not having to worry about like, and 34 cents or whatever, right? It's just,
So if we did that, do they, say if we do a lump sum like that, then they allocate it to wherever they want to go?
well, that's where the resident council has to come back with their budget.
Oh, I see.
But what I'm saying is,
Okay, I see.
if they don't know what
They know what they're working with, is what he's saying.
yeah, and now you know what you're
Give them
working
money,
with.
this is what you have to work with. Now come
And-
back and tell us how you're gonna spend it.
Yeah,
But they know what they're working with.
What, I think maybe, what if we did like 30, so then they can come back?
I mean, I'm fine with,
Well, somebody make a motion.
I'm,
Okay.
What
put a
happened to
motion on the-
26?
I put a motion on the table, we allocate $30,000 for a budget and then come back to the table and let us know how those fall.
I'll second that.
Second, okay. All ayes, all in
No,
favor?
no, gotta ask for a discussion.
Oh, open for discussion.
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 Well, but if we don't have any, that's what you have to
Okay,
ask.
do we have any discussion? No? Okay.
As long as they know they have to come back and talk to us some more.
Okay.
If I don't get my tongue lashing from Valerie every month, I won't feel
You
right.
gonna get it
I
in?
just won't feel right.
Okay, we got a motion on the floor.
Got a motion?
Oh, I just had one more question. I guess I can have a discussion. I think I noticed that there was a 3-year. But do they come back every year to do it, or
Yes.
if we say
Yes.
30,000, we can adjust it next year?
The agreement is for 3 years, but the budgets,
Okay.
HUD says they have to come back with an annual
Okay,
budget.
great.
Okay,
Call the question.
question?
You?
Aye.
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 Okay, all in favor? All opposed? No? Okay,
Oh, sorry, so I was an aye, but, so that's for the $30,000, but then we still have the MOU, right? So is that approving the MOU?
Yes.
Okay.
Madam Chair,
Thank you. Oh, we-
Help her out.
Madam Chair, in an effort to prolong the meeting, what I think you're voting on now is different from Resolution 24-21.
Okay.
It is.
It needs to be clear, so Resolution 24-21 can be revised.
Okay,
So I think you're voting to approve the MOU, and that's all this evening. And you're giving a potential budget of $30,000 over 3 years.
Per year?
No,
So it'd be 90.
But that's subject,
It's not over
$30,000, but that's subject to the resident council bringing a budget indicating what that's going to be spent for, and then you will approve the budgets separately every year,
Correct.
okay.
is what I think you're doing.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's exactly what
that's
I'm
what we
Yeah.
think
Well,
we do.
well said.
Make that the motion.
Yes,
Okay,
yes,
well, I can't make a
But we-
motion, but
The
I
motion's
think
what he
the
said.
motion-
What he
That's
said.
what I
So,
motion.
can I just make a second motion?
Sure.
okay,
Since we already have the 30,000, can we approve the MOU?
yes,
Yes.
okay.
Resolution 2421.
Are you making the motion?
I'm making the motion.
And I'll second.
You second it? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? No. Okay,
All right.
Now
okay.
that you voted, are you clear on what you voted on?
No,
Yeah.
that's okay.
What? We just voted on.
Approved.
Approving the MOU and
Okay.
approving $30,000 to the resident council to come back to us with a budget. They're working with $30,000, delineate it and show us what they're gonna spend it on.
As long as you know what you voted on. So that leaves
Next
the
meeting
MOU.
is December 11th.
December what?
11.
11.
Okay.
We done?
So we done with that? Okay, we want to have Joe, could you please give us the update?
You got 4 minutes.
I thought we were going till 7.
No, I said we could get
So,
done by.
because we still have another meeting,
I know.
we have another meeting after
Where's
this.
that?
Oh, man.
It's not on.
Oh, okay,
It's not-
because that was one of my comments.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'll just be very brief. So the one thing is, it looks like the Florida Housing Board approved Amarillo's Phase 4, Cypress Gardens Phase 3. Central Gardens, sorry. With Central Gardens. I know. I'm going to have to do a map. 100 units, 1s, 2s, and 3s. Nothing really changed from previous discussions. So now starts the period for litigation. If folks want to challenge us, there's 58 apps behind us that are eligible for funding. So the usual process, we should know if we're being challenged within about 10 days. Then once we have invitation credit underwriting, then they'll issue that after we're in the clear. And then I'd say about a year to close, roughly, give or take a few months. But that's sort of the general guideline. So all good there. Hurricane-wise, we fared pretty well. The only negative is we did have solar panel damage at Amarillo's. So all the panels are offline at the moment because we had, I'd say about 5% were damaged or destroyed.
How much is that in money? Approximately.
So
That's better than I thought.
if you lose one, you lose the whole system. It's just the way they're wired because they're wired in series. Cost-wise, we got one person coming out Tuesday, or Monday or Tuesday of next week to look at it and give us a price. So the hope is to not have to do any insurance claims because no one wins. I'm hoping it'll be a relatively modest amount. But
I'm sure Rick will be happy about that.
what, saving money? No insurance?
So, yeah.
Okay. That's really all I got, Commissioner. So if you have any questions, please let me know.
Thank you very much.
You almost
Any
be
questions?
tired.
No?
It's
Thank you,
really
Joe.
great news about the funding for the.
Oh, what did
That's why I said congratulations.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank
What
you.
did the county
Thank you,
say?
Joe.
The county upheld the $7 million that was previously awarded.
Why are you asking him?
William.
He was there. He was on the hot seat. So.
They approved the $7 million.
Yep.
Did you have to take Moran out to lunch?
Nope.
This is recorded.
Took him out to the.
Is that a massive shirt?
Yes.
That's offensive to
We still have
minorities.
one more meeting to do.
Okay, so no new business. Okay, old business definition of city commission's liaison role.
So Rick and I worked on this. I did send it. I spoke with the vice mayor earlier today. I sent it to her. I haven't heard any concerns. We could always amend it. I mean, I asked her if she thought we were missing something, but I think it's good. Rick has reviewed it and helped me with it, so it'd be good if the board could approve that. I think she wants to have this too.
I'll make a motion.
I'll say.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, passed. Okay, program, no new business, program updates accepted by consent. The monthly financial statement, SHA, Janie's Garden, Board Committee.
I'm
meeting.
sorry about the
What?
resident interest or the resident ad hoc committee. I can send those minutes out. They've been done
Okay.
once.
Don't worry about it.
C, Housing Choice Voucher Report, Housing Management Reports, Capital Improvement Reports.
I'll make a motion
You make a motion?
to.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Sorry.
Okay, no, thank you. Okay, commissioners' announcements or concern, or comments?
I got one. So there was a training, HOTMA training, and I just want to say how impressed I was with the SHA staff, and especially Victoria and her knowledge. Like, I can tell she read all those regs before she even walked in there, and like absolutely crushed it. So, and I know they all passed, so they all got they passed with, did really well. So
It's great to hear. Thanks for sharing.
Okay,
that's all my comments.
okay. Commissioner, would you like to say something? Any comments or concerns? Thank you. Commissioner Mason? Commissioner Meredith?
Yeah, I had a couple of things. One, I don't know if this is the time to do it, but I would like to
No.
put a motion on the table to add a development committee ad hoc.
Okay,
Second.
second, motion, second. All in
Aye.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay,
And you have to appoint a chair and people to serve on it.
oh, okay.
That we might check
Commissioner Meredith will chair, okay.
I'll sit on it.
And I'll sit on it,
So I'm gonna sit on every committee.
okay.
I'll
And
participate.
Mason? And, okay, would you
Yeah,
like to sit?
Yeah, the reason being,
You
I
learn
just
a
think
lot.
we're
It's good
losing
that you
again
learn a
on
lot.
this, because there's a lot going on with our developments, and we come to these meetings, and I think there's
Give
a
me
lot.
Tuesday or Thursday,
Yeah, let me check my schedule.
Well, Tuesdays, Thursdays, good.
Okay.
Thursdays.
Thank you.
And
Anyone
then
else?
secondly, I was wondering, I think I brought this up a while ago, because we were talking about the shootings and stuff. Do we have like an incident report that we have access to? Does it make sense? Do you guys have one,
The
or
police report, you mean?
like just do we have like for all like our? Do you like know like, oh, we've had these months of incidents at Cheney's Garden, or is there like? did we
I have to request that from the police department. but I-
Okay,
I
so we
will.
don't really have like a report of all our properties that have issues. I just wonder if we have that, if we could.
You used to. didn't
I would be willing to.
Oh, you mean from the PD? We
Or
may
you used to
have,
meet
yeah.
with them on a
At some point, we used to
weekly
get
basis
some.
on Mondays.
There used to be a lot of different stuff. We used to have a community resource team dedicated to public health.
Because I guess I'm getting a little concerned about what I'm hearing about the crime and stuff, and especially when we have residents that want to leave because of the crime. So I'm just curious on how often this is occurring.
Yeah.
Because I know both of you guys are in the mix and all that stuff.
I did have a meeting with police last week, and we discussed some issues we're having at that property. So they're very well aware of it. Actually, I saw the chief about a month ago, and he's very well aware of it. There's a new camera product that I'm looking into. We saw it at Naro.
Yeah.
The police department is using a different company called Flock, but they have the same thing. It's basically a mobile. It's almost like a trailer that has like two wheels on it and a trailer hitch, and it's basically solar powered camera. So have y'all driven down Washington 301 like around?
The old car wash.
Yeah, the old
Cruising
car wash.
is
You
one
see
that's
like a
Yeah.
big
Yeah.
pole with a blue flashing
Yeah.
light? Okay, that's exactly what it is. And they have a 360 camera on it, and they also have a pan tilt zoom. You can draw a line around it, so if someone crosses that line, the loudspeaker says, "You are trespassing, police have been notified." But the good thing about that I love about it, is we can move it around. Like if we have a hot spot somewhere, we can go park it over there. And what both companies I've talked to said about is it has a lot of deterrence factors. So
So we're getting one of those?
so yeah, we met with the camera company this week. They're the ones. So the police department's using it. Manatee County Sheriff, several other county sheriff departments are using this Flock camera company. A lot of the big retailers like Lowe's, Home Depot, they've been using Flock cameras. So
That's great. That sounds
yeah,
like that could
right now we're trying to figure out if we can either piggyback on an existing procurement, or if they're on like the GSA schedule, we can just buy equipment from them and not have to do like a big procurement, which saves a lot of time.
Right. Cool.
So anyway, I just want to let you.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I like the fact.
What
that
happened to the CRE one? You didn't like that one? That was the company that was at Narrow was CRE, wasn't it?
No, it's different.
It's Flock.
Flock? No, it's not Flock.
I didn't think so.
They do have a competitor, but the police department told me Flock is about 5,000 less over 2 years than the other company we met.
That's not much, really.
And I only had one last comment too. It's just you already went to it because you added it, but if we could just be like, you might as well just like include a development arm on all of our board meetings.
I just talked with Joe about adding that.
Oh, okay. Rollins, I think. Okay.
She's smarter than you.
I know.
Well, thank you. Okay, we're gonna call.
Madam Chair, I'm not a commissioner, but may I make 2 brief comments?
Yes, please.
If the commissioners are finished.
Commissioners are finished.
Okay. on the crime in the shooting matter, just to supplement, I do think it's a really good idea, and it does occur at some other authorities, for the commissioners to get a report on criminal activity, and especially that this becomes newsworthy. Because even though we may have a communications policy, one of the things that's not good is if commissioners get asked about the shooting that occurred on our property or whatever, and they say, I didn't know anything about it.
Right.
The correct thing is to refer them back to William, but at least being aware, especially if it's newsworthy, of what's being done. It should be a regular thing that William, you don't have to do, but you send that out to the commissioner so they're not caught off guard, number one. Number two, in your response about people being concerned about the shooting, wanting to be relocated, but we don't have anywhere to relocate them, I'm going to suggest that you contact law enforcement. Sometimes there are alternative things that can be done. If we cannot relocate them, that would be beneficial for them to know. So if you would do that and consider doing that as part of your response to what was brought up, I think that could be helpful. Last but not least, mainly for Commissioner Roman, probably for Commissioner Colon also, I'm doing a training next month for new commissioners. It'll be virtual. I don't have a date today, but I will have one by Friday. Again, Commissioner Roman, I'll call you and tell you what kind of things I cover in that type of training. But I have a lot of new commissioners, and that's one of the reasons why I'm doing it next month. So thank you, Madam Chair, for allowing me to
Thank
put
you.
that on the record.
Thank you for your comments. Okay, we'll end the meeting.
Start the next.
No.
Yes.
I said start the next.
Start that.